Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jake Kerr. This is a Black Ink podcast, and today I'm joined by Dr. Matty Moore.
How's it going, man?
Very well. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Pleasure. Great to be here.
This is, I must admit, like, once I kind of found out about the character that is Matty Moore, I was like, I got to get him on the podcast.
The character.
Yeah.
Funny.
Well, it's because I found out about you through our mutual friend Jordan.
Yeah.
A long time before I met you.
Mm-hmm.
It was like he told me about. Actually, I think he talked about on the Club Good podcast about meeting you and dealing with some trauma that he didn't realize he had in the past and
Yeah.
da. And I
Kind
remember
of started his journey actually on plant medicine, and we got us talking and thinking about doing something together, and yeah, the rest is history.
Dude, Jordy's like an addictive person. When you're around him,
He's amazing, buddy. Like absolutely one of the most powerful, motivated, bright young men I've ever met.
Yeah.
He's just a great partner, a great friend, and it's been a pleasure to really get to know him and his fiance and wife now, and what we've done together is pretty great.
Yeah, no shit. I think the good thing about Jordan is like he has this like flywheel of ideas, and the ideas like even I catch up with him probably on a fortnightly basis at the moment, and he'll tell you an idea that you don't shelf but he does, and then the next time he's talking to you is like, yeah, and if you did this and then add on to it, you're like, hang on, that was a good idea that's now a great idea that I paid no attention to before. So then you start going like, right, everything he says, I've got to like make a note of it.
He pays attention, man.
Yeah.
And he's always thinking. It's I don't think he means to. It just happens naturally with his brain.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
Which is awesome. You haven't got someone who's trying to be a create, like not trying to be, a creator. They're just organically in the way they think are a creator.
They do. It's beautiful, man. It's almost art. It's like whatever he does, whatever he touches is pretty special.
Yeah, no shit. So tell me, even though I just said I know the story, how did you two collide path? How did this all start?
Yeah, so we moved down to Bunbury after being in Kalamunda in Perth and having a practice up there, and met them on the beach.
Yeah. Standard.
Yeah, his folks, and hanging out, walking the dog down. We had rented a place up on...
Let me let this girl out.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
Always a star of the show, Louie. Come on. And we're back.
Yeah, so we all met on the beach and got to talking, and he had opened up Lost Bills, and so I visited his bar after hours one night because I was working after hours for a clinic up in Australind, and so on my way back through town and on the way up to our rental, stopped by Lost Bills, had a beer. We just kept talking and really got to be close, and thought about a few ideas, one of which was like a mobile app where you find a dock in your area or whatever, and so we got to talking, and I got into what I'm doing now, and he did the branding and really helped me start the business and thinking about marketing myself, and just as a regular dude, regular GP, and regular guy that people identify with, and I think that's really great. And we've done some special things with the clinic. Now that we've opened it, it's been open for a couple of years, and great dude.
Absolutely. Well, speaking a little bit before we started rolling, you're not like a doctor. Like, you're a doctor, but like when I look at you, I wouldn't see you walking towards me at the shopping center. I'm like, oh, this guy's a doctor. You know what I mean? Like, you're very normal, if that's the right way to put it.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I love people. I don't think I'm different than anybody else that way. So I don't know. It's just kind of how I've been all my life. Is really kind of eye to eye, shake your hand, have you over for a Barbie, drink a beer. Very Aussie-like, right? So
100%. Just social and fucking cool.
Yeah,
I think has it always been the intention to be a doctor?
Since I was a kid, yeah. I guess at age 5 or so, I had friends whose fathers were doctors. I really had a great GP myself. Got to know his family through the school that we grew up in, and identified with that, position and ability to heal and help people, and helped us as a family, as a family physician. So that was really kind of my ideal, and so I always was interested in sciences and excelled in sciences and loved school, and yeah, I just always wanted to be a GP. So yeah, just became a generalist and wanted to be a general doc ever since I was a kid.
Yep, absolutely. So I think something you just said then about having a family practitioner, I think that's really important, but that's a really, as someone who's 30, and like I'm now, a lot of my audience is kind of that 16 to 30 range, I guess.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of normalities that are starting to not be normal anymore. And having a family doctor and having a doctor that's a consistent person that you see is definitely one of them. What do you think is like, it sounds like I'm setting you up here, but like asking as a citizen to a doctor, it's got to be fairly important that you kind of see, like, you get your someone and stick with that someone. So that if you're 8 years down the track, you're like, hey, remember I brought this up 8 years ago?
Yeah,
I'm having this again. What's going on there?
Well, yeah, I mean, you form a bond, you form trust, and, you know, you get to know families and know how they work, the inter-family relationships, and, you know, psychologically and also physically, you know, helping families through injuries and illnesses. You tend to get pretty close to people, and you're kind of an extension outside of the family. And so that's really how I view my job is, and that being close to people and developing that relationship is really important, I think, in that job. To do a good job and be close and take as best care of people that you possibly can. I think developing that relationship is paramount. Right.
I think the reason that I get so like, or the reason that I like the idea of having a doctor that's consistent is having that like accountability both ends. Mm-hmm. So I like the idea that if you go to like my GP for the longest time here in town, like I remember, I'm not sure how it came about, but there was discussion about like, oh, we'll put you on these, whether, I don't know exactly what it was that long ago now, but it falls into that category of drugs that I'm not interested in. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not interested in, there's either addictive tendencies or like I know friends who have had problems with it, or it may have even been like prescribing to help with not ADHD, but I don't want to say that because I don't think I have ADHD, but the like prescribing to help with the symptoms of that. I think there's definitely a lot of situations now where people are in these situations because they haven't had that consistency in their doctor. And because they haven't had the consistency, the doctor's done the best job in the position they're in, where they see this person who's seen 10 other people, had 10 other opinions, and probably had 8 of the same thing, said the same thing to them. They're like, well, you're going to be the 9th? Should I just do this, or what do you think? And the doctor's like, well, fuck, I don't know. Like, I with the information that I've got, I guess. So I guess the question is, like, I don't know, if you're in that situation and you see someone and you're like, look, we actually need to sit down 5 more times before I have any fucking real information to put together. Like, how do you deal with that sort of situation?
Well, yeah, there's things that need to be handled acutely, right? I mean, you kind of have to triage a situation.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's at risk, you certainly intervene and get a management together pretty quickly. But, you know, things that are chronic, that I think takes a bit of time to develop and get a history, see what's been done, and develop that trust and talk about your management plan with that person. So yeah, I think you're right. It does take several visits for a person to really open up fully, and also for the doctor to investigate exactly what's been done in the past, so you don't do the same shit.
Yeah, exactly. I think also you look at, it's funny how this kind of a ratio here where like, not the more you spend, but let's say the less you spend, the less interest you get from the doctor. Like sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm just the other half of the Medicare rebate here for you right now. It's not really about my problems. It's not really about treating them. It's about like, we've got 30 time slots today and you're one of them, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a function of really the system as well as maybe some poor interest in the doctor. You know, the system where GPs aren't really rebated as well as they had been in the past. And so I think clinics are forced to see patients quicker and therefore get as many of those Medicare rebates in a day that they can in order to function. And so that rebate hasn't been upped in quite some time. And so you get a lot of doctors that are running patients through as fast as they possibly can. Some doing a good job, some aren't. So, you know, that's a function of the system. And then, you know, just like any job, there are doctors that are, there's a variability in skill level and interest.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
well, this is the thing. If you get all those doctors in a room, put them all together, the one thing they have in common is they're all human. And they're all, some of them have bad days, some of them have great days. Some of them are, situationally going through great periods of time in their life and bad periods of time in their life. And it's like, man, I think it's one of these things as a person who's mostly unwell. If I'm seeing a doctor, I'm unwell, then it's like, you're having a bad day. Like, I got a fucking flu that's riddled me, Yeah.
Yeah, it's that relatability again.
Yeah.
Doctor and patient.
I think I didn't know that rebate hadn't gone up. That's probably the missing bit of information there, hey?
Yeah, I would hope that people look into that, but the system, I think the rebates need to increase and change quite a bit, and therefore that would draw training doctors back into the general practice system.
Yeah. If
they're rebated better, because we're not rebated very well as opposed to specialists.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that would draw a lot more trainees back into the general practice training system, and therefore you would then have more doctors in rural areas and good doctors in rural areas that want to be there.
Kind of incentivized through more than just the problem solving.
Absolutely. I think it's pretty simple. If you compensate GPs better, through the system.
It's a wide conversation though, because if you compensate teachers better, we get a smarter generation of kids coming through, ideally, right? And it's like, there are probably some key areas in like infrastructure, in medicine, in health in general, in the teaching sector, where it's like, there's a lot of people not getting paid enough money for the weight they bear on their shoulders,
Absolutely. Teachers being, most important.
Yep. Yeah, bloody oath. Tell me, so now that I'm in the garment decorating business, I look at garments and I go, well, that's a heat press shirt. I think I may have made that.
Oh, baby, that's it, baby.
I did make that, yeah. You look at that and I'm like, okay, that's a heat press. That looks like it was made by Velflex and not printed here in the studio. So I do all these things.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of like, I see it as like a computer breaking down all the data. When someone's either entering your office, or even when you're doing the shopping, when you're in day-to-day life, as a doctor, do you have what sort of perception are you getting of the world?
I'm always observing.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious that it's been tough lately for people.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're out and about, people are less than kind to each other sometimes, which I think that's unfortunately increased quite a bit. So that kind of gives you a general view of people are stressed, man.
Yeah.
People aren't doing that well financially too, so it's tough. Housing. So I think it's obvious that we're struggling.
And obviously that stress trickles down. Stress turns into inflammation. Inflammation turns into pick a problem on the board.
Totally, man. So and all the post-COVID stuff and mental health because of that.
Yeah.
That's been a big part of what we're doing, and that's increased. And I know that's increased all over the place for not only specialty clinics like ours, but general practice specialists, psychiatry. They're busy, man. They're really busy.
It's definitely an interesting time. I look at obviously everything at the moment is like there's this wall before COVID and after COVID, and I think there is definitely a general courtesy that is now missing. People.
That's what I mean.
It's like it used to be like, don't breathe around me during COVID. Now it's like, don't fucking look at me. Don't come near me. Mm-hmm. You're walking that way, I'm walking this way, and that's it. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's like when you get that thought track in your mind over and over, you're like, oh, that person was almost scared of me being near them.
That you said it. It's fear. And that's really divided us even further, unfortunately.
And the crazy part is, you have a conversation, not that I have this personally, but I know many people that have this account, is they'll be conversing with their family over dinner, over something that has nothing to do with them, like politics in the US. And then there's divide. And it's like, when the fuck did divide become so fashionable? You know, like the idea is meant to be like, I don't know about you, but I love the art of conversation. If you think I'm wrong, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the conversation, like, you're still Matty, I'm still Jake.
But it's the butthurt that everyone feels
Yeah.
for getting their opinions a light shown on them.
Yeah. And then questioned as well. Like, a lot of people don't like to be questioned, because I always go back to this, like, if I'm wrong on this, what else am I wrong on? Mm-hmm. And do I have to pull the rug on everything that I've ever thought of before and start reevaluating everything if I'm wrong on this thing that I take really seriously?
Well, isn't it important to consider your own beliefs and adjust those? And you're always evolving, right?
That's
what's wrong with that?
The whole goal is process, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I remember what you did in high school. It's like, yeah, that was fucking 20 years ago.
I was an idiot.
Yeah.
An idiot back then.
Even I regret doing that, you know?
Man, so much.
The weird part about being human is that, like, well, I'm finding now that I'm 30 and everything's slowed down a bit and I can think, and I can look around and observe and go, like, what do I actually feel, you know? Is that all the people that were 30 when I was 18 weren't lying to me. So now all I'm trying to do is listen to the 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds and be like, what happens next?
Yeah, man.
You know, what do I need to start paying attention to? All of them say always answer with the first thing, health. Keep your health right, because if you don't have that, everything else slows down.
Man, how much did you consider your health, you know?
Up until like 3 weeks ago, not at all.
It's so funny, man, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like that perspective comes, it's like a switch. At some point you're like, oh shit, I better start taking care of myself. Yeah,
and it's like, to be honest, like that switch, I feel like a switch suggests that it's on and off. I don't think it's at the spectrum of which the importance of your health. I feel like I've crossed over this new threshold now, because like before I'd look for an excuse to get KFC, and now every time we go to get it, I always get to the drive-thru and go somewhere else. And I'm like, and the thing that goes in my mind is like, I just want to love my body. I just want to love my body.
Good awareness.
It's like, I don't want to love my taste buds for the next half an hour. I want to love my body. And it's fucking hard, but it's like, I'm only at that stage now where I can physically do something about those thoughts, because you always know it's bad, but now it's like the consequence of that bad has changed.
But a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I think seeing, so like my dad is 20 years older than my partner's dad. So you've got a combination of me being older than my partner and her parents having her younger than what my parents had me. It's really interesting that obviously we're in a committed relationship, and I spend a lot of time with both parties, with her dad and my dad.
For sure.
A lot more time with my dad. And like my dad acts the age that he is, which is 20 years older than her dad.
Yeah.
And you know, and then I see people that are say 10 years older than my dad getting out of the car at Bunnings, and you're like, fuck, like I need to actually be with my dad as much as possible while he can walk around and while he can have full formed conversations and do all the rest. And
Ain't it true?
Fuck, dude, it's so scary.
It is, man. When your folks start getting sick, you know, that really opens up your eyes to the finite matter of, you know, their lives, our lives, life in general. You know, take advantage every day, man.
So let's take into account a little bit of exposure therapy. You would have been around more death, disease, illness, sickness than majority of, you know, average people. Does that help the like processing of that when it happens, even when it's close to you? Does that help at all?
Of course.
Yeah?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, because when you're in those situations over and over again, you have an even better perspective and an even better appreciation, because it's dynamic in each situation. You know, each end of life scenario, each passing, you know, all the grief, and really consideration in each of those. How can I respond? How can I support?
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes you better at each one, for sure. And so doing that over and over again, it's just like anything else. Practice makes perfect, and you know, being better at it, being a better support the next time. I mean, that's what we're all about, right?
Yeah, I was watching the second episode of the Conor McGregor Netflix docuseries.
Haven't watched it yet.
Super interesting. It's super interesting. As a by the way, I fully put myself in the same category as Jordan as a creator.
Yeah.
I thought I was a truck driver once. I'm not. I'm a fucking fully creative artist person.
I know that.
And when I look at, like, when I listen to Connor and the language that he uses and what he talks about and how he talks about, like, his path and how things are, like, undeniable in his mind. This is what we're doing. I don't need a guess because I do everything in the right order to make sure that it happens. I see it. I have faith. It happens. And then I just decide what I want to do next. I achieve it. I decide. I achieve it. I decide. And I was listening to him in this episode last night, and the way he talks about going into the ring and, like, making the walk to the stage and, like, even making the walk into the gym when he was just starting, because he started quite late. He was, like, in his teens when he started fighting.
Okay.
And he said the anxiety and the, like, discomfort of going into the gym, which is, of course, like a community energy space, a communal energy space that if you're not part of, it's a super fucking intimidating place to go to.
Big time, man.
People go to hurt each other.
Yeah.
They're training to hurt each other, right? And he goes, the first time I did it, it's like, oh, the second time I did it, the third, the fifth, the 10th, by the 100th, I was just doing it. And I realized that, like, I am comfortable in this uncomfortable space.
Muscle memory, right?
The fuck else we gonna do, And I really feel like there's something there that, like, people who listen to my podcast are going to hate me for this reference, but wheelies. Everything is about wheelies for me, right? 2 years ago, I couldn't do a wheelie at all. Now I can do anything you want on a bike on one wheel, and that's now being translated into motorbikes. And it's like, I just kept on being uncomfortable until it became comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that death is like the fucking far end of the spectrum, where it's like, that's the most uncomfortable. Especially if it's like my mum. Or, like, I think about Louie dying every day because I love her so damn much that I can't imagine that moment, so I have to expose myself to it over and over and over again, because when it happens, I don't want to be caught with my pants down.
Buddy, it's so true. Like, I had the pleasure of saying goodbye to my grandmother, and all of that hospital time and seeing that, taking care of people, living end of life with those people really helped me, I guess, say goodbye myself, but also help guide my family say goodbye to my grandma, which was really special, like one of the most special moments of my life for sure. So
100, I think that's
it. Like that's living it right there.
Being a man as well, you don't want to be weak, but to go through it properly, you have to be weak. Like, you have to be like, yes, this fucking hurts me. This is ruining me right now.
Sure, man.
I think, like, I know, I'm lucky and unlucky in a way. When my parents die, I have no brothers or sisters to help, but I have no one to help me either, So, yeah, I've had no one significant die around me, by the way, so I've
really?
No experience whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, each time is a learning process, and different, painful. I've had friends, family, so it's inevitable, right? But never fun.
So you worked you worked in an emergency room, is that correct?
Yeah, I've worked emergency throughout my training, and then on my own and with teams, and in the States and small towns, and then started off in Townsville as a registrar, working under some amazing people. Really great umbrella, a different system in Australia, and I really like this system. It's very good for training. The upper tier, the professional, your specialists who train registrars, and underneath that, it's a really good system. They take really good care of you, and they help you learn. And so that was really special to come from one system to another, and then try to master it too.
So when you talk about the system, like the healthcare system, I'm assuming,
right?
What sort of differences have we got between the US and here?
Well, the US is privatized, right? So it's there are times when folks who don't have private insurance don't get care, like they have to go to emergency for simple things, and for instance, there's people that have cancers that can't afford to get the treatments. It's totally different. There is a public system, and it works, but there's holes in any system. So not saying that one's better than the other, just that it's
there are
different.
Differences,
yeah. So yeah, and then moving from Queensland to WA, working emergency in Perth, and then when we moved down to Bunbury Regional a little bit, and then Bustleton more so over the last few years.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I had some really good experiences and some amazing cases, and as you would imagine, and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun.
That's it's interesting that the privatized system in the US. It's when I've had Yank friends come over and ride or whatever and stay.
Yeah.
And you talk about like going to the emergency room here, and it's like almost unspoken of for like my US mates. So like unless we have to, we're not going to the emergency room. It's like, man, I know people who go to the ER for a bee sting. You know, they'll cut themselves on some glass. They're like, got to go to the ER. I'm like, bro.
I know, it's very true. Yeah, it's very true. Different that way.
Yeah. What's is there a, obviously you probably ethically have your own standard. What's the standard of like being a doctor about, do you have any crazy stories you're allowed to talk about from an ER situation?
Oh man, like there's so many, gosh, injuries and strokes, heart attacks, all kinds of things, buddy. I mean, yeah, we could talk for hours. But
I'm more talking about the ones where like
snake bites.
You come across a dude where the dude that sat on the jar and it broke inside of his ass and had to deal with that. Like, I don't care about how you dealt with it. I want to know the conversation you had with him when he rocked up, if you did see that guy, you know?
Oh, there was what was it? There was somebody who rocked up in Townsville ED, I believe, with like a dildo that was stuck in his back passage, and
Hell yeah.
had to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, as a first person to walk in the room and throw the curtain. You know, that was interesting.
Is he on his stomach for that, or?
What's that?
Is he on his stomach laying down, or is he on his back laying down to solve that problem?
Oh, like he was on his stomach. The nurses had prepared and put a sheet over him and stuff. So yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing. You're a greater man than I. I would just I'd be ripping into him every chance that I got. You know.
No, you gotta have some compassion there, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. So you're also a bit of an adventure seeker. You do some skateboarding.
I do, yeah. I have a longboard, skateboard, and e-skate.
Yeah.
An Evolve GT bamboo longboard. It's badass.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Love that thing.
Well, that's more of like they're the Wave Rider style boards, aren't they? With super loose
yeah,
trucks.
they're real flexible and
Yeah.
fun to carve.
Yeah.
So and you can put street wheels on them. You can put 4x4 big chunky ones to go over grass and stuff. So
they don't have the foot straps, do they? You're still just a board.
Just a board. Yeah. Just like you would ride.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I grew up doing board sports. I mean, grew up around lakes and wakeboarded and of course snowboarded and skied my whole life. We went to Colorado quite a bit from Texas, which is about 1,000 miles to 0.2.
Yeah, right.
2,200 kilometers.
Yeah. From crazy distance.
Yeah, so we drove quite a bit every summer to Colorado for hiking and whatnot. In the wintertime, we went up to Vail and many other ski resorts. And so I love board sports. The one board sport that I'm shit at is surfing.
Interesting.
And I think it's just because of swimming and knowing the ocean and reading and catching the wave. I'm just not good at it yet.
Yeah, I think there's 4 things happening at once.
Yeah,
That's what's going on.
Yeah,
you know?
there's tons of stuff going on, and I just I'm not a great swimmer, and I make a lot of motion, but I don't get a whole lot.
Yeah.
So,
I always laugh at the old dudes, or don't laugh at them. I have a moment where you see the dudes that swim in the ocean every day, from here to here, and you'll be sitting there drinking your coffee, and you'll see them, and you look away, and you do some shit. You look on your phone, and you look back 5 minutes later,
they're the same spot.
They're in the same spot. You're like, humans are not meant for the water. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Just arms, legs flapping. All right, dude, you do you. That's cool.
Yeah, that's me. That's me with a surfboard. No, yeah, I love skating, man. My skateboard's fun.
Yeah, I feel like those real nice like carved boards. They feel like they're so much fun, but they're the moment before like a terrible thing happens.
You've got to be really careful.
Yeah,
because they can go fast.
Yeah,
you know, up to 40 k's an hour, and yeah, like they're responsive. The brake's responsive. So, you know, when people get out in front of you, there's a dog. You know, you've got to be really quick.
Yeah, all over it.
Sometimes I've had to hop off and, you know, start running real fast and throw the brakes on. So yeah, you got to be aware for sure. It's not like, you know, spacing out and
just letting whatever
doing
happen.
your deal. You know, yeah, you got to be careful.
I must admit that you know what fixies are, like a fixed wheel push bike, no brake, no gears.
Yeah.
So if you pedal forwards, you go forwards. Pedal backwards, go backwards.
Yes.
So I rode them for the longest time until I shredded my bloody right meniscus and gave them away for good. But you know, no brakes, no gears.
Yeah.
And then my skates have no brakes. And then obviously like skateboarding, you have no brakes, doing wheelies and shit. It's like doing wheelies in traffic and that. I feel like there's something about that flying close to the sun feeling on wheels. Like that's the shit where you just like, I can't think about anything else when I'm doing this.
Yeah, buddy, exactly.
It requires me.
Exactly.
You know?
That's why I love mountain biking so much.
Yeah.
It's just flying through the trees as fast as you can go. Almost close to killing yourself. Yeah. You know, every time.
That's weird, hey? It's weird. Like I hang out with fucking animals that do stunts on Harleys. And it's like, we're talking about you get one chance to fuck up your whole life. If you fuck up and it's all good, you're the cat with one tail. You know? The next one's got to be bad. And these dudes just wearing shorts and a singlet and fucking whatever. Fuck, man. What are we doing?
I know. I don't get it.
Give me a shot. Bloody hell. So, what's the plan? You're 2 years deep here in Dunsborough.
Yeah, man.
Do you see yourself hanging around the southwest? I said before you came on camera, you're a bit of a local celebrity.
That's funny, man. I never dreamed of being that way, actually. But yeah, I suppose so. I think when you're in the space that I'm in, which is plant medicine, you know, it's starting to be in conversation on the lips of everybody pretty much, you know, from 1 to 3 contacts, you know, I think they probably know about us or know what we're doing. Yeah,
you're 2 degrees of contact. If they don't already know, you're 2 degrees of separation away from everyone. Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But I guess, you know, being on the pointy edge of the spear in this space, you get that way. And we've positioned ourselves as really a clinic that people identify with and, you know, take good care of people and manage things. We're not just out there like some other clinics taking advantage of the system. Yep. I think they're out there and they're being pretty obvious about it, unfortunately, but we're not like that. We've got a lot of different complex cases that we love taking care of with plant medicines and, you know, if they qualify, you know, because as you know, and I've got to say this, is that it's not for everybody. You have to have a qualifying diagnosis and use first-line therapies. And if you don't, then, you know, unfortunately we can't help you. But if you do, there's a chance that we can, and so it's been pretty fun. And so yeah, it's gaining steam all over the country. We're taking care of thousands of patients, and moving up here, man. Yep. So we're
up here as into Bunbury.
Yeah, we're opening up a clinic within weeks up here. So.
I'm just excited to have somewhere where I can go and fucking harass Jordan again that's at work. We used to, so my story with Jordan is I met him, let's say 10 years ago now, and he had the dark room, which is now Lost Bills. Yes. And we used to go in there, me and another mate, Craig. I think Craig actually met through Jordan. Yeah. But I remember Craig Lyons. Craig Lyons. Craig, Jordan and I sitting around his desk for hours. On any day of the week, just take your pick at any time of the day, any day of the week, just for hours, talking, watching Jordan do his thing, on Shock Mansion, going through cool videos on the internet and shit. And it was sweet. Jordan was just always that guy you can just go hang out with, have a good time. And now that he's, you know, got something happening in Bunbury, it's like the days that you're there, I'm going to come drink coffee in your office because I fucking can, you know?
Bring it, good. Man. Always stop by for sure.
Yeah. And you said you're going to be up here as well?
I might be doing some shifts up here. Who knows? I think we've got a potential full-time doc that we're talking to and training. So I might be doing a shift or two up here for a little while just to get things kicked off. Yeah. But I'm down in Dunsborough most of the time.
What's the and obviously I'm not sure You tell me if you don't want to answer, basically.
No, that's cool.
We can cut it out if whatever. What's the difference between a GP and a GP who prescribes plant medicine?
Absolutely nothing. You know,
Right.
it's just a choice that I've done.
Yeah.
I've done some extra training. Been paying attention to the worldwide phenomenon, to be honest, and certainly over in the States, what's happening and how access has increased. So yeah, we are excited about what we're doing. I think it's potentially a very good place for patients locally and around the nation to get what they need in a real general holistic sense.
Right. Let's go back a sentence. You mentioned before, obviously you have to have a qualifying something. You have to have tried first line option.
Therapies.
Therapy. Have you had a situation where you've had someone that's come to you, had that situation, they're like, this is the next port of call, and you've tried different things and it hasn't been a fit for them?
Has not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been some folks who've got pretty severe osteo wear and tear arthritis.
Yeah.
And you know, the part of the plant CBD that's a really good anti-inflammatory does, for the most part, help most people with that condition, but some it doesn't. You know, it's hard to predict, Jake. Like, you know, each system is different. Whereas, you know, similar age, similar conditions, you know, even similar genetics within families, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work as well for some people. So it's you know, I think it's worth a try if you qualify.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy, man. I've completely self-medicated, you know, plant medicine for a long time.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Sure.
And it's in a way where, obviously, because of the legality of it, like, you don't talk about it with family, you don't talk about it with particular friends.
Sure.
It's like there's this circle of people in your life where you're like, they're cool, they're not. And to the ones who are cool, we all have a fairly similar thing. It's like, hey man, like, when I don't do this all day, every day, I'm a different person. And not different person as in like, I'm me and then I get fucking ripped. It's like, no man, I have 4 million thoughts a minute. I can't fucking have a normal conversation that starts and finishes in the same spot. I can't apply myself to a job and just do that one job.
Well, dude, you found your medicine early.
Yeah. And by coincidence and like somehow by being a fucking someone who likes breaking the rules, it's like that's what got me there. And then when I got there, it's like, fuck, if I do this, like I seem to have this result. And then when it's crazy, I'm just going to explore into my story a little bit here.
Please do.
I like gave up smoking because I had to get a job. I had to do the thing, you know what I mean? I had a business which allowed me to do whatever I wanted. I sold the business. I was getting back into the real world. I want to drive trucks. If you're going to drive trucks, got to pass a drug test. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And every day I thought about it. Every day. And I'm angry every day. And I don't sleep properly every day, you know? And it's not one of those things where it's like, yeah, okay, maybe you don't like driving trucks. Maybe that's what it is. I'm saying as a general rule that...
And that's not a psychological addiction. That's not a physiological addiction. It's just your symptoms worsening when you're not taking your medicine.
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%. And like now, still, you know, obviously I'm still the same person. I still operate the same way. When I look at my behavior, and it's something that I've made a diary for myself because I know exactly what I need to keep a track of. And like how much I'm smoking is something I definitely keep a track of with routine like sobriety checks. Just like, hey, let's make sure that like we catch up on all those dreams that we've been blocking out. Let's make sure that we can get to lunchtime and still be just normal.
Very important to check yourself.
Fuck yeah.
Always.
Because I'm super scared of being addicted to anything.
Yep.
You know, coffee, whatever you want to fucking fill in the blank with. And it can be even, you know, activity or exercise or a particular practice. So it's like I really keep myself in check. And as a creator, you have to.
Absolutely.
I need to make sure that my baseline is still Jake and we build off that, not off this thing that is, you know, encrusting around Jake, you know?
Yeah, because you can get off track. You can get off track pretty easily. And I think checking in is a very good philosophy in life. Very good. Grounding.
Yeah, 100%. And going back to what we were saying before about this like division and separation between society at the moment. I think another as important thing as a checking in thing is the social check-in, the communal check-in, having that thing that you belong to. Every Monday night, I do this. I see these people who are not present in any other part of my life, you know, and having that thing where like, oh.
And you guys are skating around the city, is that right?
Well, that's my thing, yeah. So yeah, Monday and Thursday. Yeah. Mondays we just do like a skill session, and Thursdays we do a lap of the city, get some food, hang out, talk shit.
Community, dude.
Community. And like I never fully got it until recently where it's like, you know, someone doesn't show up 2 weeks in a row, and it's not like I'm messaging them because someone's paying me. I'm messaging them because I fucking care about them, you know? And it's that thing when I didn't show up once after GTM because I was still too bloody hungover, and I got 8 messages from people. What's going on? Is the skate on? Are you okay? Where are you? You know, it's like, fuck, man, there's the fully people that care about me, and I care about them.
And that conveys real value. You know, you mean something to them.
100%. And that subconscious, like that subconscious thing of someone messaged me first, you know, and it's like that comes from real community. There's easy thing now where people go, you know, that mate hasn't messaged me and fucking...
screw it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to message him.
I tried calling him twice. He didn't call me back. And it's like, instead of going, my friend is in a situation where they're not messaging me back or calling me back, I might fucking go round there and make sure they're all good and not hanging from a rope in their fucking back room or something.
2 very different philosophies of life right there.
Yeah.
Buddy. Yeah.
But how do you get there, right? How do you get to either one? Because I've been an angry man before, and I'm a happy man right now.
Sure.
I'm happy. I'm all good. I have days, but I'm happy. But the thing I have now is time, and I have energy, and I've afforded myself the comfort. If I wake up on Monday and I'm not feeling it, I go back to bed. But the reality is most people aren't in that situation.
No.
They're in a situation where they work a job they don't like, making probably not enough money that they think they deserve, driving a car that they can't afford, in a house they can't afford, now with a missus that has grown away from them because they're both in this situation and resenting each other because of it. And then they go to call their mate because they're having such a bad time and they don't answer. And they go, fuck my mate, even he doesn't like me. He's probably rooting my missus. Right? So I get it. But fuck, man. Community for me, I think, is like the step one in all of that. Where it's like, all that's going wrong, come skating. It's fun. We have fun, you know?
Yeah, man. That's one of our our tenets, really, of our clinic.
Yeah.
Is community. You know, we doing that surf club, and you know, we want to do a biking club, skating club, and really, you know, be great to do an event together, community event.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know, Mode and BLXCK INK.
What do you, and I'm just throwing this on you because it's something that I kind of question, like, what do you think is say you're just a person listening to this and you want to be involved in community, like you're like, yeah, you know, what they're saying in theory makes sense. How do you find a community, do you think?
Well, I think, you know, look at your own hobbies, look at what you enjoy doing, and see if there's other people doing that same thing.
Yep.
I think, and there's community groups out there. There's ways there's resources to find those groups. Asking, going out by yourself if it's skating, seeing who else is skating. You know, gravitate towards them, skate over there, ask them who they are, get their number. You know?
Yeah, and do the thing. Yeah, I have found. I remember because I didn't start the group. It was actually a guy called Gargan, and Gargan did this thing where like he would chat to everyone, and I'm like, how the fuck does he talk to these people? Everyone's weird that comes here, you know? But then you realize the only consistency in rollerbladers is that they are weird. You know, they're just weird people because they decide to skate. But I realize now that like as soon as everyone shows up, I'm like a flight of shit. I'm like, what's going on? Where have you been? You weren't here last week? What the fuck's happening? Yeah. Oh, I've been up north. Where'd you go? What'd you visit? What cafe did you go to? What coffee do you drink? You know, it's like, because you realize that like, and this is that uncomfortable thing. Back when Gargan was doing it, I didn't like that area of uncomfortability.
Sure.
You know, of making myself vulnerable. You know, most of the time by 5:30 at night, I don't know about you, but I usually can't keep my eyes open. You know what I mean? Like I'm rocking there, I'm full of anxiety and like a little bit of paranoia, and it's like I don't really want to talk to them now because I've realized that that's where the gravy is. It's in that uncomfortable zone, and it's like by asking these questions, they inadvertently learn about you as well, and then you build this connection that every day that you see each other, next Monday it builds, the next Thursday it builds again, and then 3 months down the track you're like, this isn't just someone who comes to the skate, this is my friend.
Yep.
You know? And it's like if we went and watched, I remember we all went and watched Avatar, the latest Avatar when it came to the cinemas, the skate group.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm just going to the movie with my friends. This is my skate group. Like, I know these people.
All because you forced yourself to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good.
Dude, hanging off the back of a bike is the most uncomfortable you can be. Because if that wheel goes from underneath you, you as a doctor know exactly what's going to happen.
I do.
You know?
I do.
And it's like, the truth about doing wheelies is you got to lean further back and you got to be more uncomfortable to do the bigger and better wheelie. Mm-hmm. But god damn it, when you start getting those uncomfortable results, you're like, let's go. You know? The first time you ride past a group of 4 girls doing a wheelie looking at them, you're like, yeah, you fucking know.
That's why you learned how, eh?
Oh, dude, of course. Of course. It's cool if you're 10 years old. It's cooler if you're 30 years old, you know?
Right on, dude.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Fucking oath.
I dig it.
Do you know how to rollerblade?
I don't, man. I mean, I've roller skated, certainly, you know, through my life. I don't have a pair of blades, but I could probably. I haven't.
All right. When you're working up here in Bunbury, we're putting that to the test.
Cool, man. I'll do it.
Come along and fucking do the thing.
Take some video and send it to all my friends back home.
Yeah,
They'll really love it.
Let them know. What activities as a doctor would you definitely not do, given your experience?
Man, I don't think I'd get on a motorcycle again.
Really?
I don't. Nah.
Damn,
just
dude.
Big scars, and you know, that does that for a person.
Yeah.
You know? So, I wouldn't get on a motorcycle again. That's.
Fuck, that's crazy.
I told my mom I wouldn't. Told her I wouldn't. So.
Is that when you say big scars and you indicated towards your head up here? Obviously, the US have a lot more lax laws about the use of helmets, and I think
they do.
Even the standard of bike that's allowed on the road is completely different, whether it's through law or just illegal riding. You know what I mean? Like here, you're not allowed to ride a dirt bike on the road. In the States, you're not allowed to ride a dirt bike on the road. It seems like it happens a lot in the States, but it doesn't happen a lot here.
Yeah.
So I think the part of me that loves riding is like, well, what about this and this good about motorbikes? I get it though. Like I said, the game we play, you get one fuck up.
Absolutely.
One.
Yeah, man. So that I made it through that one, and I'm cool with not getting on one again, honestly.
You had a spill on a motorbike?
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened?
So we were riding around in the Caribbean and had a wreck and had a scalp laceration, basically, from like here. Ripped this part of my face open. Big lac here. Yeah. Just being stupid and partying, you know, all day and getting back on a bike and being dumb. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know the story without you telling me.
Yeah, totally. So, you live and you learn.
Yeah.
So, I figure, learn from it. Yeah. And, you know, I'm okay with not getting on a bike again.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I ride my mountain bike pretty crazily, you know. So I get my adrenaline fix on that thing.
I must admit, I could probably
But I do wear full face, and you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend who is a fixed gear rider, fixed gear freestyle. So he's like tricks, spins, jumps, that sort of thing on a fixie. And he was doing I think it was a Keo spin, which is essentially you're up on your rear wheel and you're doing this with your pedals to basically just do spins on the rear wheel like this. And the bike slipped out from underneath him. He's gone just above his tailbone on the ground and then head smack straight back. And he was wearing a helmet, a race helmet, so the point on the back, and like you should see the helmet's in 3 pieces, did the job beautifully. Yeah. And he was still feeling pretty queasy after that.
Oh, he would.
The next day I bought a helmet to wear while I was skating. Because I wear a helmet on everything besides skates, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking stupid. Because Rob is literally the best fixie rider I know, and he smacked the fuck out of his head. You know, and I'm skating in the dark. Yeah. On the road.
Dude, only takes one time.
Yeah.
And you're a vegetable.
So I'm bringing helmets back. I reckon
good,
I'm making them look cool.
Yeah, good.
I'm hoping that because it's fun. And this is the thing. Like, not toot my own horn here, but as a bit of a social leader, I wore a helmet, and then the other 3 people that come all the time started wearing helmets, and you're like, oh damn, I got a voice. I got to be careful what I say now.
True.
You know.
Absolutely.
I think I see you especially, and actually no, Jordan in a similar way as thought leaders, because I think what you're doing through your work and obviously through the relationship that you have with your patients is like trying to like reconfigure this stigma or this idea of what this is. And being able, because I know for the longest time, it took me so long before having this conversation. I'm like, oh, this helps me with my life.
Yeah.
I had to get over the thing of like, this thing's illegal. Like I'm breaking the law. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's such a massive thing where it's just like, no, I've accepted that this is what I do. You know?
Well, now we can legitimately treat you for your condition, you know, if you qualify, and you do. So, you know, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and like,
and quite honestly, you're an easy patient to treat because we know that your system is primed for it.
Yeah.
Your receptors are familiar with the medicine, and you know it's just about finding the right dose, the right strain, and the right frequency, and then you know managing it appropriately in a medicinal setting rather than a recreational.
Yeah.
Not saying anything about how you use it, but like I think a lot of patients really benefit that way because they use less and they develop less tolerance by using less of the medicine.
I think the two major things that I got was like the tunnel vision of exactly what you're trying to achieve out of the medicine, and the fact where it's like literally half. You're smoking half within 2 weeks.
Totally.
Getting the same result, getting a better result, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing before this, you know? Because I'm talking like I used to pump billies, like I was getting paid to.
It's about excess, and it's kind of part of that culture where, you know, your mates just pulled, you know, a huge tube, and then you can do this, and then it kind of, it just builds on that.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, I think it's that and the standard culture for Australian weed smoke recreationally is spinning it. And now you're dealing with an actual, and spinning it for those who don't know is adding tobacco to it, chopping it up, usually 50-50. And I know personally that like you're addicted to the nicotine. This isn't about smoking weed anymore.
No.
That's a byproduct of what you're doing. You're smoking billies for the head rush of billy smoke, you know, like capturing all of that nicotine in one hit, having it in one hit, holding your breath and then depriving yourself of oxygen, getting nicotine and then blowing smoke out. Magical feeling. I love it.
That's exactly it.
But you're addicted to that feeling.
Yep.
You're not addicted to the fucking, addicted's not the right word. You're not doing it for the result of like, I'm getting something from this plant. It's like, I'm getting a very different result from the plant that I'm also smoking with.
Exactly. Yep. Yes, and you know the whole blunt culture back home, and you know that's very much the same.
Yep. What's obviously smoking it isn't ideal. Do you? I mean, I'm pretty sure the immediate thing is to like if you're gonna have dry flower, go to a vape, right?
Yeah, like I mean that's pretty simple. I mean you're not burning the plant, so. Anytime you burn something, no matter what it is, you're going to get a residue, a tar, a toxin, and you know, carcinogen. Even barbecuing meat, right, on a grill, there's potential for carcinogen in the smoke.
Yeah.
So even with cannabis, you know, if your choice is smoking versus vaporization, health-wise, vaporization by far is way healthier for you. And this is dried flower, not your vapes, which are liquid. We're talking about dried flower.
Yeah, 100%. Where you're loading the cartridge with ground
ground up cannabis flower.
Man, that other vaping shit, like the ripping oils that have been packed in China in a plastic body.
Dude, you're in for it. Like the long-term data, who knows? Like far out.
I've got friends that
it's scary.
They're now in the years of being addicted on a 15-minute basis. You know, every 15 minutes they're having 1, 2, 3, 5 rips, putting it down, forget about it, and then 15 minutes later the hand goes searching for it again. It just scares the shit out of me, man. Like I feel like riding a motorbike's one thing, that's fucking way more dangerous.
I agree. They have no idea what they're doing.
No, and like we made cigarettes like smell good and taste good. That's what we did, you know. And like, to be honest with you, when it comes to ripping a vape or having a drag on a cigarette, give me that cigarette every day. I'm getting the full body flavor. That other thing, this is the thing. Like when you're killing yourself, it's meant to taste like shit.
That's funny.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's why KFC is a cheat code. That's why vapes are a cheat code. You know. So I think there's something there where it's like the accessibility, the cost to entry, the fact that it does taste so good.
And they're marketing it to kids now, you know?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, they did the same thing with cigarettes, right? And they banned, you know, companies like Camel back home with the cartoon camel on it because of the kids. And jeez. So yeah, we'll see, buddy. I don't think it's going to be very good. Lung-wise, in the next 50 years, they're going to be studying it.
Well, on a similar note, I've heard this theory just lately. So I've got a major problem with I have observed a consistent change in the way people drive over the past, like, let's say 5 years. Because obviously, being a truck driver, you know a lot about the way the road works and the way people mentally make decisions and the behavior of cars and stuff like that. So I'm very alert to how people are operating, especially as a motorbike rider. Doubles down again. Yeah. So people are just like they're getting paid to doing 20 Ks under the limit all the time. Pull out onto the 60 K per hour zone. Someone will rush to get out in front of you and then do 20 Ks under the limit. And it drives me fucking crazy. So I had a podcast guest the other day. I'm speaking to him about it. He goes, "Yeah, everyone's fucking on antidepressants. They're on you know, SSRIs, blocking them out from the whole world, or blocking them emotionally, but like not giving a fuck about the rest of the world."
Yeah.
And you can tell. And like when he said this to me, I'm like, no, it's, bro. I see what you're doing. It's cute, but it's not what's happening. I think he might be right. Because they'll slow down in the part that doesn't really matter, and then when they get to the lights, they speed up for a red light to then slow down again. You know what I mean? It's like they sped to get out in front of me, and then as soon as just normal life takes over and it's not something where they have to make a decision, they just go back to zombie mode and whatever they feel like. And they come up to a light and they're like, oh, yeah, slow down.
I don't know how you're going to prove that theory, buddy.
One at a time, pulling them out of the car.
Are you on antidepressants?
Aggressively asking them, what's going on in your life?
No. Okay, carry on.
Get out of here. Obviously, there's no way of testing that, and it's almost fucking immature of me to ask your opinion. I guess the greater question is here: do you think there is a sect of society that is walking around a bit like zombies because of this?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you know, for various reasons. You know, whether they're under-medicated or over-medicated, there's that definite sect for sure, man.
Okay, maybe the question is more that we know that in the US. Because of all of the documentaries, I don't know them off the top of my head, but the general thing is that like doctors are being encouraged, incentivized to get people on these particular drugs. Do you think that's relevant and happening in Australia?
I think a little bit as far as the opiates, certainly over the past 5 to 10 years. Right. I don't think it's as much nowadays. I think it's, you know, I think the TGA and the other governing bodies have kind of clamped down on that a bit, but it was definitely happening. You know, you see the epidemic in the States, you know, 15, 20 years ago, it started to happen here with endone and, you know, the surgeons being incentivized to prescribe certain opiates and you know, all that. So absolutely.
Yeah. Have you had any experience yourself, like post-surgery with opiates or anything like that?
Yeah, very limited, but absolutely. I don't do very well on them, and it kind of makes me sick to my stomach.
Interesting. I have the same. Very much so. Like my experience is all, when I got my knee done, I fuck with them a little bit, but I think from memory, I was like, as soon as I could, I was pulling billies and just dealing with it. You know what I mean? Because it was one of those things where I know what this is, you know? Yeah. I think, what I see of them recreationally is so fucking scary.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I don't see that at all. Like I'm kind of out of that.
Man, I've got a friend, not a friend. He's like, you know, I have to be around him for particular reasons, because of other people. And I remember he started selling them, and I was like, this is like new. There's like, I've never really known anyone to sell, to specialize. I thought they've always been peripherally available everywhere. You know, kind of like Dexies, I guess. You can get them fucking anywhere you want within 5 minutes. Opiates a bit like different because it's almost like that hard drug category. And this dude just went to like selling them. This is like maybe say 6 to 8 months ago. Like he is fully fucking gone now. Like conversations with him, everything. It's like, yeah, you're talking to him and he's there and he's like handling it himself. But it's like, oh,
but he's cooked.
He's gone.
Yeah.
It's another person, you know? And it's like, oh, that literally took no time at all. It's rattling.
So, yeah, that's what those do to your brain and your system is the ability, the receptors, though the amount of receptors change so that you have to take more of the medicine in order to have the same effect.
Right.
So that's why tolerance happens with opiates so quickly. They're just highly, highly addictive, that potential. So yeah, man, it's dangerous stuff.
In comparison to plant medicine where you lay off, like if you give yourself a week break, that first time back, you're like, who the fuck am I?
Exactly. Am I 14?
Yeah. Let's see what food we got going.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. But absolutely so important though, Jake. Like, to be able to take that break and you know, reduce your tolerance, have those receptors resensitized, you're going to spend less money on your medicine.
Yeah.
Let's face it, you have to buy your medicine from the chemist.
Yeah.
Even in a medicinal system. So, and that is expensive right now. So what we try to do is obviously teach our patients to use as little as possible, and having a tolerance break is huge.
Yeah, I think also like one thing I learned as well is you don't have to be experiencing it consistently from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. Like I really do try and like experience it and then not experience it, and then go, even give yourself an hour or two and then be like, sweet, we're looking at about 11:30, 12. Let's get me sorted for the afternoon. So it's yeah, I mean, I've got to mature with my use as I've got to mature with my body, you know what I mean? Because I've gone from, like I said before, like, you know, 10, 20, 50 big billies a day.
Yeah, that's mindful use is what you're describing. You're extremely in the moment, you're aware, and you're feeling your symptom relief. You know when that's about to wear off, but you're being disciplined. So yeah, man, that's exactly what we preach.
Yeah, fucking get a hold of yourself, eh? The barrier between people's naivety and information, I feel like is just having the information accessible. And I feel like a lot of times when you talk to people, their knowledge on it is just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, there's definitely a more harmful list of those. I mean, you go from 1 to 10. Yeah, I mean, there's more harmful than others for sure.
Yeah.
But educating yourself, like, don't be stupid. Don't take something that you wouldn't know what it is. Like, you know, it drives me nuts thinking about these folks at festivals, right? I think the pill testing thing is genius. Well, I mean, what are your comments on that? Like, I think that's amazing.
Dude,
really smart.
It's
I don't understand why there's resistance to it, to be honest.
Because if I covered it, if I with a face tattoo walk into a pill testing resource place and test my pills and then walk out, am I then the guy with the face tattoos who has drugs in his pocket?
I don't know, but like in that situation,
it'd be smarter to than not. Yeah.
If you don't know what it is.
I think coming to, like I said before, like I'm 30, everything's slowed down for me, and I am having these internal conversations where it's like, you know, the risk versus reward is a big one that you have. You know, like I can do this, best case scenario, I have the time of my life, worst case scenario, I die. You know? And it's like, seems pretty pointless for a bag, doesn't it? Oh, but it cost me whatever. Who fucking cares? Yeah. You lose this money or you die.
Totally.
You know?
I think it's that life wisdom that helps making those decisions, and the young caveman brain that I had in my, you know, younger years. making those decisions were a little bit more difficult.
I think
nowadays I'm like, God.
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, of course. But does that come from a place of you having these experiences and having that wild man mentality for a time, and now you
For
go
sure.
like, I can actualize this?
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think.
I've had my times.
Yeah, and like, you asked me 6 years ago, like, what do you think? I think do them all and see what happens. Like that's my genuine feel. That has been my feeling for most of my like recreational career, I guess. It's just like, fuck it, we'll find out one way or another, And now it's like I really got to know the guy. I got to know the stuff. Hopefully I want to have like it been tested in some form before the day. You know what I mean? I hate like in a situation where like you acquire something at the festival. It's like I trust that the least. I don't know if it's from here. I don't know if it's from Perth. I don't know if it's from China.
I wouldn't trust it at all, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at all.
And unfortunately, normally you're in a position where you're perhaps a little bit more vulnerable to bad decisions as well, because you're
under the influence.
You're a part of a group think because you're in this
totally in this
mob of people.
Peer pressure can be a big thing too. Afraid of what people think about you if you take a stand for morals or your own feelings, trust in your gut. Like, I'm a big believer in trust in your gut. So
that's a hard one. That's a very hard one. I'm a believer in it too, but finding that compass and knowing what it looks like and feels like and sounds like, and then when it rings, going like, whoa, no, I'm going to go this way.
Yeah, you got to be able to hear it and listen to it.
Yeah.
It's there, always. You just got to hear it.
Have you been an intuitive decision maker most of your life?
Always.
Interesting.
Very high level of intuition. That's probably a lot of my intelligence is intuition.
Right. I think that's
what feels right.
Yeah. It's a hard one to, especially when the first time you experience a true intuitive thought is the opposite direction of what you think you should go.
That's a challenging one.
Oh, see now I'll give you an analogy. Earlier this year, I was looking at running for council, and I gave myself a period of due diligence, basically talking to as many people as I can. I'm talking 2 fresh faces a day, 5 days a week, all in different positions and occupations that can kind of tell me what the job is about, what's expected of me, what I can expect. And I got to a certain point where it was about 6 weeks of doing this, and I was just fucking exhausted, and it was a Sunday, and I was like telling my friend out loud, like having this conversation, I'm like, man, you got to fucking, and this and that person said, and I'm excited about it. And then all of a sudden I like listen to myself talking. I'm like, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do it. Maybe there is a part of you that does, but definitely not right now. Listen to you.
Like seeing you as a politician and spinning, I don't see it, buddy. I think you are definitely more of a straight shooter than that.
Yeah, I mean, my thesis now at the moment is I'm more valuable to Bunbury as a businessman than I am as a councilman. And that's all this is about. I just want Bunbury to be as cool as fucking possible. I want to live here. I want my kids to live here. I want you to, when you visit, go like, look at Bunbury. And if that's the goal, being in council, you're just dealing with the answers to questions. You're not the ones asking them. I want to be the ones asking them to promote this. So maybe later on, when I've got a heap of experience doing this, I'm more effective as that, right? But the point of all this is like, I've now been living intuitively for a period of time where like that happens, and I go like, oh, I'm relieved because I'm like, I've got the answer now. But normally what happens, not normally, when you first start to live intuitively and you have these things where it's like your direction is the path you haven't been heading, you feel like that's the scariest thing, because you're like, oh, fuck, again, we go back to that rug pulling thing. Do I have to reconsider everything, And it's like true intuitive thought, or in living intuitively is like that ability to go like, that's the path, sweet, that's the path now, How scary though.
It is.
How scary. And also, if you're a normal person with a normal job, in that scenario I explained before where perhaps, you don't like everything that's going on, and your intuition is telling you quit your job at any expense, leave that chick at any expense, sell your car at any expense, and you're like, I don't want to because I've dug the hole so deep to the shape that I like it. I don't want to go up,
Quite the predicament.
Quite the predicament indeed. Fucking hell. Well, I believe we're a good distance into the podcast. Is there anything you'd like to touch on before we wrap up?
Yeah, not really.
If people want to find you, what would be the most effective way of finding you?
Yeah, look, we've got website modehealthcare.com.au. Mm-hmm. I'm on Instagram, Dr. Matty Moore. My email, mattmoremd@gmail.com.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
Do you have any community events, mode-based things that are happening in the future?
We're talking about it. I'm sure we'll do something here in our opening.
Party. Yeah.
For sure. Something cool. The buses have been running around town. And,
very cool.
We're excited, man. I think the buzz is starting to happen. So, yeah.
I love the low-key vibe of the bus as well. It's not like, you almost have to look at it, you're like, what's even being sold to me here? Like, I don't know what it is. Geordie is so fucking good at that.
He's awesome.
So good.
He is.
Right, dude. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, Jake. You're the man.
Oh, I try to be. And like, subscribe, do all the things, guys. You know what's going on because we're fucking out. Yo!